Hi there, welcome to FMCG by Alex. Today I would like to talk to you about trade marketing and especially loyalty programs and what it can do for you. As you know from me, we start with the why. Why do loyalty programs in the first place? The purpose of loyalty programs is to retain loyal customers. It sounds very obvious, but loyal customers, they have temptations from other brands that are trying to solicit them with offers like, promotion for this, try that. If they try it once, the chance that they like it better than your brand, yeah, that's always there. Therefore, retaining loyal customers is one of the key reasons to do loyalty programs. Then to strengthen the brand equity. So, what is brand equity? That is basically the value of your brand in the eyes of the consumer. So, there are brands that have a very premium brand equity or very high brand equity. You're talking about luxury items. That's because not everybody can afford them. They're scarce. They are not sold everywhere in every corner shop that you can find them. This is basically also one of the things for loyalty, but to make the value of your brand, the perceived value, higher. Then one of the side effects of loyalty programs is like, okay, buy more, therefore you get more. That is increased consumption. Usually doesn't work for every single type of product. It's more for snacks. For example, if a bag of chips, crisps you have in the house, if you have more in the house, you consume more. If you have more dishwashing liquid because you buy to get one, yeah, that doesn't mean you do the dishes more often. And one of the very, very important ones in this day and age, like in the past, it was less, more analog, less digital. Now it's more to collect data. So to see who are my customers, are they able and willing to give me their data, meaning address, email address, phone number, etc., so we can communicate with them directly. So you have a database of people that have bought your product, are coming back for your product. So this is a good way to keep in touch with your customer base. Then we come to some examples. Basically, collecting things, that is an initial thing. So you used to have a very famous example here in the Netherlands, which was called Flippo, which is collecting like small cardboard pieces that they put into bags of chips. It was a very big hype. It disappeared almost as quickly as it came because saturation set in, like everybody was doing it, but people were really collecting it like crazy. Like there are people who still have these big albums and they have all these different cartoon characters on these small pieces of cardboard. You couldn't do anything with it. It was some sort of game you could play with it apparently, but that was not the reason people were collecting these things. And people were trading it, etc. A bit like Pokemon cards, where people were trading Pokemon cards. People were trading Flippos. The guy became a multimillionaire, but I don't think he has any new ideas that made him rich after that. The general idea is like you have stickers, you have something that you collect while you know buying the product, so buying more of the product, increasing the consumption of buying more of the product. Then there are things like cutting out barcodes or collecting lids of something. That is also an example of collecting items to redeem. Now the good example here is also in the Netherlands is a company that made coffee, so Douwe Egberts coffee used to have this small coupon on the back of their packaging. You would cut it out, and if you have a gazillion of those things, you would be able to send it in, and you would get like a set of spoons or whatever. Basically, they had like it's usually something that was geared towards a more mature audience. Um, Things for kids, of course, work very well, but also for adults. I think this is a bit timeless because everybody likes to have a present. Everybody, enjoys this sort of thing. Some markets it's more successful than others, but I'll go into that later. Then you have sweepstakes like Lucky Dip. So in essence, you have at the cashier you know maybe bought for 50 euros worth of groceries. Now you can dip into a bowl. Can be at a category level, can be at a product level, can be at brand level, can be at for the entire retailer as well. So this is something retailers sometimes deploy as well for loyalty programs. Then you have product with purchase or product redemption. So in essence, you check out and you bring the receipt to the customer service, and you get a product. Now, this is something like a point system. There's a very famous example in, I think it's one of the first companies that did that in Indonesia. It's a Balinese company called Tiara Dewata, which is a retail supermarket basically, and they had the first thing where you could collect points, and those points you redeem based on how much you bought in that supermarket. So you redeem for, let's say, a blender or something like that at some point, or reduced price on a blender. So these things were quite popular. They were, yeah, the number one supermarket in Bali in Indonesia for a long time for that particular reason. So these are examples of redemptions. It's not only business to consume, but also business to business. There are also examples of companies that actually have this redemption for their own employees. Yeah, like, okay, you have reached a certain target, or as an extra or a bonus, the employees are getting, something from the boss to yeah, as a reward. It's not so much a loyalty thing. Then we come to the challenges. So there's a lot of things to keep track of. First of all, it's a lot of administration. So when you do it in a large scale, of course, obviously the paperwork will, or the digital paperwork will really rise exponentially. It might need additional people on your end to, keep track of everything, or elaborate system that, yeah, it's maybe not worth it when you are doing it maybe once a year. Then, of course, designing the winning mechanism. So again, if you don't do it often, you need to think of something from scratch, which is also quite a difficult thing. Things that work. The last thing you want, and that's also something I've had, unfortunately, the misfortune to yeah, experience, is that if you think of something very elaborate and the execution cannot be done perfectly, then the mechanism that on paper works in practice didn't work out as smoothly as possible, as you wanted. So we had examples in the past that things that were before the rise of the current day technology. Obviously, that everything is online. Back then, you had to really do a lot of things manually. Yeah, that is just a shame, because you are spending a lot of time, effort, and also money in setting it up, and yeah, then it's underwhelming what the result is. That is just, yeah, a shame. Then, of course, the logistics. If you do it in yeah, stores, the more stores, the more logistics. Getting premiums and products to redeem to various places, that can really be a nightmare, logistical nightmare. You need additional people. You need an entire strategy to roll it out. And yeah, and then of course it sounds obvious also, but linking all the moving parts together. So meaning, putting all this stuff together, because you might have experience with it, but maybe your colleagues don't. If you're the sales department, then the marketing or trade marketing department, maybe they come from a different industry, or they haven't really done this much because the company has never done it. That is possible. All these things are like, okay, rather have the opportunity to use an off-the-shelf solution than think of a bad one yourself. That is, I think, the better steal a good idea than think of a bad one yourself. That is the saying. But in this case, there are a lot of companies that specialize in this thing. So one of the ones I would like to hereby recommend is Tada, which is an Indonesian company. So they are, if you're in Indonesia, if you're abroad, you need to find another partner. But usetada.com, that is a company that does a loyalty and reward program. So in essence, they've already designed the entire process from A to Z. They will completely take everything out of your hands in order to, yeah, make sure that you can just sit back, look at the dashboard, see the results roll in, and they have thought of all the moving parts, all the bits and pieces, in order to make sure your loyalty program works. And yes, it might be a little bit more expensive than when you do it yourself, but they will say, like, to save 10 cents, you have $1 worth of headache. That saying goes here. So especially if in the end, if you do it yourself, the result is underwhelming, because maybe you have the experience but your team doesn't. And there are always things that inexperienced people forget, because that's what experience is for. It's rather to pay a little bit extra to get it done right. And like I said, I have good experiences with Tada, and I would like to recommend them hereby. So, when to apply loyalty programs? So, certain markets are more suitable than others. We found this in Indonesia that loyalty programs for kids are more difficult to put into place nowadays. With the advance of internet, is internet online is basically omnipresent in the world. But when I was working for a company that was marketing to kids, we had a challenge reaching kids because yeah, like I said, we couldn't really evaluate what programs we did, so we were assuming, okay, it was very popular, and because it was all sold out, yeah, it must have been successful. But there's more than that you can't really measure. And um, with regards to loyalty programs, we've seen also that certain markets resonates better than in others. So this is really depends on the country. Then when to do it is when you see that your competitor is very heavy on the acquisition part, so they're trying to really create more users, or like convert more users from your product to theirs, meaning, yeah, heavy competition. It also is the battle for this consumer. If you are in a market where everybody's growing and there is still room, so you're not really butting heads over percent growth or not. Soon as it's a fighting market, yeah, then you need to solidify your loyalty of your customer in this case. So that's one of the examples. And the next one would be generic products. So let's say a bag of chips, even though there are different flavors and different quality levels, it's very, very close to each other. So we say a bag of chips is a bag of chips. It's basically potato chips we're talking about. So generic products, this is the reason why this Flippo example that I gave, like putting a premium inside the pack, is okay. You can have a bag of chips without and have a bag of chips with, same price, almost same taste. Now, then I'm going to choose the one with the premium in it. So that's something that needs differentiation. It's not as black and white as this, but it's an example of when to apply if you want to have a little bit of an edge. Now, the issue here is keeping an eye on the cost ratio. So this is the thing where I'm always inclined to say, like, when you do a promotion, you better make it really good. So in essence, not really looking at, oh, do we still make money when we do the promotion? Initially, when you say, I'm doing the promotion, I'm introducing this product to customers, or I am actually giving my loyal customers something extra for a while, so to solidify my brand equity, basically. I'm not looking so much at the cost ratio. But when you work in a corporate environment, when you work for an FMCG company, you don't have that luxury. If you're not at the top of not the sales director of the company, basically you have a yeah SOP to follow. So keeping an eye on the cost ratio, meaning it can only be so many percent of the total price of the product. This is normally mandated by marketing or trade marketing or both, in the negotiation, and they set it at the start of the year, a certain guideline to how much you can spend. Now, the issue with this is that sometimes the premiums that you are giving away for certain products is underwhelming. So let's say, it's a good example of this is someone in Indonesia I've been speaking to. I did business with them for Ultra Jaya, but they said for another company they would do premiums, and they said, well, rather than doing something with a plush toy or something like that, they were giving away very cheap towels with the logo of the company that they were of the company, or logo of the brand. Now, if you have a very cheap towel, will you put it in your bathroom? I guess it's like a hand towel, not really a towel to dry your to dry your body, basically. But so this hand towel, yeah, it ends up at some point on the floor where everybody walks over your logo. Everybody, it's at some point it's a rag. So for cleaning. Now, is that the way you would like to display your brand or not. So is that actually, just because the cost ratio made sense, is that actually the way? Is it effective in the end? So one example that I wanted to give. So I've done this in a B2B setting. We had at some point we had a brand of milk for kids, which was growing up milk in Indonesia, called Mimi, Ultra Mimi. Very delicious product. Uh, we were repositioning the brand as growing up milk, and we were looking to reintroduce it to all the local supermarkets, and we had some resistance in getting the product into the local supermarkets. Now, most of the at least 60-70% of the buyers in these local supermarkets were women, usually mothers. So what we did was we created a plush toy from one of the characters of this growing up milk, which is a bear, like a teddy bear type of thing, but really good quality, really good stuff. It's from the same company that made the towels, also, by the way. But this was one of their products they were proud of. This was basically one of the things that really worked, because even 10 years after, when we came to the supermarket, there was still that bear, on the desk of the buyer, and some gave it to their kids, and there was, of course, the name of the brand on it. So it works on a subliminal level, where you say, okay, in that case, did we at that time, spend maybe $5,000 for, just giving out plush toys, or were we staying top of mind for the buyer? Were we staying top of mind for this key decision maker in the supermarkets, in order to have a good negotiating position for our brand? So, in the end, the brand now is one of the top brands in Indonesia for kids milk. So. I would like to think it had some positive impact, but that was an example of not looking at the cost ratio. Normally, you should. Come to the end of the video. Thanks again for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked it. If you don't, then don't. See you in the next video.